Okay, Jim again. Today we're going to make a pretty simple cheese that actually tastes like cheese, doesn't have a million ingredients, takes 10 or 15 minutes to make. So let's get started. Okay, we've got the burner on a medium-low heat and we go in with, and I've weighed these ingredients to keep them reasonably accurate, we're going with 50 grams of vegan butter and turn that up a bit, wait for that to melt down. Okay, now that 50 grams of butter is melted, as you can see. Let's turn the heat down a little bit. So into that 50 grams of butter, we go in with 25 grams of plain flour. That's actually self-raising because it's all I had here at work, but flour is flour. That'll do the job nicely. So as I said, 50 grams of butter, V-butter, 25 grams of plain flour. I'm just going to fry that off for a minute or two, and then we'll go to the next step. Okay, I fried that butter off for a couple of minutes. You can see it's starting to bubble a bit and sizzle a bit. That's to get the raw flour flavour out of it, get it combined with the butter. That's about ready to start working the milk into it. Now, you can do this in a saucepan with a whisk, but in my experience, they lump. You're better off with a good plastic spatula as you slop stuff everywhere into a non-stick fry pan. I'm going to turn the burner down to 400. I think I might even go right down to 200 for a second, let it cool off. Now we're going to come in with 175 mils of soy milk, gradually added, just a little bit at a time. Work it into the butter flour mix. Go back up and heat a bit now, I just didn't want to burn that as it went in. Alright, that's incorporated, it's in with a dash more. And we work it in. This takes a few minutes, but it's, you know, if you bung all the milk in one go and give it a good stir, you're going to end up with lumps. The beauty of the spatula is, you can see I'm working that back into the base of the pan as we blend the milk in. And that's the process you keep doing until such time all the milk's in. I'll come back once I've done that. Okay, all the milk's been in. So I'm working it with the spatula, squish out any lumps. You want a nice, smooth, creamy, what is effectively a bechamel sauce, but a very thick one. And it's going to get a lot thicker in a second, I guarantee you that. Alright, that looks fantastic. Now, just going to pop a little bit of water in the jug. You may need a little bit of water as you work this. Now, for the cheese flavour, that's 35 grams of nooch. That's a lot of nooch. You can use less if you don't want to use it that much, but if you want this cheese to taste like cheese, it's got to have a lot of nooch in it. Now I'm going to just slowly work that in until the whole lot combines. Okay, I've been mixing that in for about 2 or 3 minutes. You see, you just got to flip it over, work the spatula in it. See how smooth it's becoming? Becoming quite elastic, which is great. We're looking for that. Because this is going to be it's a cheese, not a cheese sauce. You can certainly make a cheese sauce in a similar fashion with a lot more milk. Got heaps of good colour. Right now, we're going to go in the last few ingredients. I'll turn that down to very low. Now, we're going to go with some lactic acid in a second, which is really tangy and gives it that real cheesy edge that a good cheddar has got, but it's got a very sharp edge. So to balance that off, we're going to go in with 1.5 teaspoons of good old white sugar. They're simple white sugar. To get the umami flavour up nice and tasty, the cheese has got a strong umami flavour. Go in with about 1.5 teaspoons of my old mate MSG. Great stuff, harmless, adds flavour. The other thing, the cheese is salty, so you want to come in with about a good 1.5 teaspoons of salt. Now these sound like a lot of flavours, but you know, real cheese has real flavour. We're not trying to make some block of soap here or anything. We're going to work all that in. Now I thought that may have needed along the way a little drop of water if it got too thick, but that hasn't. I've adjusted the recipe from my original couple of experiments. I used to start with a little less soy milk. Alright, that's where we want that. Now I'm just going to pop a lid on that. I've got a little oven in the background that's on, and I'm going to sit it on top of to keep it warm. We'll come back to the next step. Sorry, I forgot to add the key ingredient. Well, one of the key ingredients. Lactic acid. Here in Australia, you can get that from Kegland online for, I think it's about $10 for a 500ml bottle. And that will seriously last you for ages because you don't use much of this stuff. Into this recipe we go in with, shake the salt out of that, we go in with 1 teaspoon. Careful with this stuff, it's acid, don't get it on your hands, it will burn. In with a teaspoon of that. Chuck that in water straight away so that it's diluted. I'll stir that through, keep that warm, then we'll get on to doing the agar-agar. Just before we get on to the agar-agar, this is about how it should be looking. It should be able to fold. Basically, fold it, see I'm folding that over into a lump? It's almost forming a solid now. And that would sort of reasonably solidify as cheese, but the agar-agar will just give it that extra bit of setting agent that will make it into a nice, firm, sliceable cheese. Okay, now here's the agar-agar. That's the gelling agent that we use, the vegan gelling agent. I got that 25 gram packet off Amazon Australia for about, I think it was about $4.95 or thereabouts. What you're going to do with agar-agar is activate it. Now I've got about probably 80 mils of water there boiling away. To that we're going to add 1 teaspoon of the agar-agar. Just shake that in gently. In she goes. Wash out what's left in the spoon. Start working that around. Now agar-agar needs a bit of boiling to get it to firstly dissolve and activate. It's made from seaweed, I think it is. It's something that needs heat to get it to activate, and then it forms a gel when it cools. So I'll just stir that around for about 2 or 3 minutes. It should be ready to go. Okay, the agar-agar's been going away for about 3 minutes. I checked the amount of water I put in that. It's actually about 100 mils to 1 teaspoon of agar-agar. It's going thick and gooey already. At that point, once it starts to look all clear, all little bits of agar-agar have gone, we're ready to go. So what we now do is we go back and grab the pan of the cheese mix that I've been keeping warm. Take the burner up a little bit, chuck the cheese mix on. Now we work the agar-agar into it. Overheat so that everything stays hot. If you let stuff get cold with agar-agar, it'll set on you. It's not what you want. And that is, as I said, it's about $5 for a 25 gram bag. You use about a teaspoon of agar-agar, or agar-agar, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. It's about 2 grams, so you don't need a lot of the stuff. So whilst it sounds expensive at $5 for 25 grams, you're dead set using about, 40 cents worth in a mix like this. See how it's all bubbling away? That'll all come together. And we'll work the agar-agar through the cheese mix. It'll start to look a bit runny because we've whacked 100 mils of water effectively into it. While it's hot, it'll be in a runny state, but as soon as that cools, the agar-agar will set this into a nice, firm, sliceable block of cheese. At that point, it all looks smooth. Got a can of the old cooking spray. Give that a bit of spray so it doesn't stick. That's ready to go. These are great spatula. I think they're about $2 at Kmart. They stand up to the heat, they're flexible but firm. You can see how easy that is to work with. Everything's worked its way in. Don't look like that. That's done. We now plonk that into the mould and refrigerate it. Just to speed the process up, I'm going to whack it in the freezer for about an hour, then let it finish off in the fridge for an hour or 2 after that. So this stuff is set before I'm ready to go home from work. We'll have a look at it and taste test it, because it's my updated recipe. Okay, I gave that cheese an hour in the freezer and then in the fridge for about 2 hours. I'd ideally like to then store that overnight uncovered in the fridge so it just dries up and gets a bit of a nice crust on it. But you can see she's a solid, spongy, it's not like a dry, hard cheddar or anything like that. It's more a jellified style of cheese. Now, let's cut a bit off and have a taste of it. See, cuts off nicely. There's the texture. If I'm in the right spot on the camera, take that up there. And that is a really tangy cheddar style. The aftertaste is like you get with a genuine cheddar, and that melts beautifully. I've done that in sandwiches, put it on pizzas, and that's a better recipe than what I've used. The aftertaste is, you'd swear you're eating cheese. nibble on another bit. Now that makes about a 300 gram block. That came out, I weighed it, netted just over 300 grams. I've costed it out, it's about $9 a kilo to make it. Not $9 a block, $9 a kilogram. And the supermarket cheeses are about $40 and they don't taste anything like that. It's 10% fat and there's no saturated fat at all in that, and where typical cheeses are about 35% fat. If you want to play with the flavour, if you don't want it tangy, go with a little less lactic acid. If you don't want it as cheesy, ease off on the nooch. Or you might add a little bit more sugar. If you're after a mozzarella style, halve the nooch, halve the lactic acid. Just play with it. As I say with all the cooking videos I do, improvise. Test it, taste it, adjust it. If that's too strong for you, I like a strong tasting cheese. If that's too strong for you, back the ingredients off a little bit and play with it. Anyway, that is a success, and it's, as I said, a lot cheaper, not hard to make as you saw in the video, and bloody tasty.